This next video, we're going to focus on the material type of test and quiz. And when we're talking about test and quizzes, this is really just for your formative assessments. Your summative ones are going to be used in either Partners for Results or Unify. So these are just really quick checks for your students, in-class quizzes. So to add a test or quiz to your course, it's materials, and then it's add materials, and it's add test or quiz. Now this has a two-part setup. So the first one is to give the test or quiz a name. I'm going to call this Sharon's test quiz example. Okay, I'm going to give it a due date of the 19th. And I'm going to make this test worth 100 points. Now I can always adjust that later if I need to. I'm going to assign it a category. I have one in Schoology already called test, but if I wanted to create a new one, I would simply create new category, and then I could call this assessment, for example. Now just make sure if you're adding a new category that you also have created this category in eSchool, and of course that you've mapped your configuration to link those categories so that the score will flow to your eSchool gradebook as well. Here you can choose which scale you would like to use. So the list of available scales will be available here to you. I'm going to choose numeric for this. And then you have the ability to individually assign this test or quiz to a student. So for example, if you were differentiating your instruction and one student or group of students needed to have this versus another group, you could do that. You could have this published to students, which would make it visible to them, or unpublished if you are not ready for them to see it. Maybe you're going to surprise them with this quiz. You could unpublish it until you're ready for them to view it. Once it is graded, though, we do not recommend that you unpublish it. You can enable grading statistics, so you can see a little bit of like the bell curve with your student scores. I'm going to enable that. You can enable comments if you would like. And you can only copy this once all of the questions have been created. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. And when I do that, it's going to take me to a page that is going to allow me to begin to add my questions. So this is the second piece of our setup, is this page right here. And you'll see various tabs across the top, and we'll get into those a little bit in a minute. So the first thing we have here is add a question, and you're going to get a drop down of all of the different question types that we have here. So I'm just going to go through each one really quick and just show you a little bit about what you can do. So the first one is true or false questions. So you can say sky is blue. And I'm just going to make these really cheesy just for the sake of getting through the video for you guys. But the sky is blue. The answer, if that is correct, the correct answer is true. If the correct answer is false, you would select false. You can ask that it require a correction if false. So if the answer was false and the sky was red, you could say require a correction, and the correct answer is okay. And you can give it a correction weight. So you can decide if the student's entered phrases, it says here, is incorrect. This percentage of the question's point should be subtracted. Okay, so they got half of it right for choosing the correct one, but in order to get the full points, they also had to choose the correct phase. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to have that. I'm going to go ahead and mark this true. If you can choose if it's a subjective question, it gives you a little help. So subjective here, if I hover over, subjective questions are not automatically graded. Instead, they are presented to you to be scored before the student's final grade is calculated. So you can choose that. And then time question, you'll have to put in how much time do they have to complete it before they time out and have to move on to the next question. Here you're going to choose your points. I'm going to make this worth 10 points out of the possible 100. Now you have options here. So if you wanted to tie this to a specific learning standard, you could click, and you have seen this option before throughout Schoology when creating assignments or creating the test or quiz, creating certain pages, all of those material types, they have discussions, have the ability to align to a learning objective. So to show you a little bit about learning objectives, I'm just going to click on this bullseye icon. It will bring me a list of the learning objectives that are available for me to use. Now, if your department has other standards, they're not listed here, I'm happy to upload those for you. Just send them to me in an Excel spreadsheet. Column A would be the title of it, and column B would be the description. And I'm happy to get those uploaded as long as they're approved by your department head. Simply click on the standard you want and add the learning objective, and you can add multiple, so you can continue to add if you'd like. Those will also appear for you in Mastery when we take a look at Mastery later on. I'm going to go ahead and hit Create Question. Our next question type is multiple choice. So here it gives me a rich text editor box. Just like when we were looking at pages, you have all of those options available to you here. How fantastic is that? So you can really make this a dynamic looking question, inserting content, videos, tables. You can really spruce it up by using these tools here to make that question engaging. So here I'm going to say, which of the following names is a Chicago Bears quarterback? Okay, so you can put in here Tony Romo. Here I could put, oh gosh, I don't even know. I'm going to just say Fred Flintstone. One of the other options, or maybe I can spell it right. One of the other options that you can do is to the right of these choices allows you to use rich text editor in your in the available responses. So if I click this little pencil next to it, I now get this rich text editor box, and my responses can actually be images, or they can be, let's see what I have here. I'm just going to use this one as an example. Okay, so it inserts that image. I can hit save, and now maybe I need them to select the appropriate icon. Okay, rather than the quarterback, I need to select the appropriate icon, or maybe the football team's logos. Okay, so that makes it really nice. If you don't need all of the blanks that it has available to you, you can hit remove blanks, and it'll remove any blank boxes that you have. Or if you needed additional ones, you can have it add one more, two more, up to 15. So that's a nice option. You can tell it to randomize the choices. So if two students are sitting next to each other, they're not going to see them in the same order. So if they see one person picking A for them might be Fred Flintstone, where for the other student it's Tony Romo. So that's nice. And you can allow partial credit. So if more than one answer is correct, so you're going to mark the correct answer here. So if there's two that out of the three that are correct, and they only got one out of the three, you can allow partial credit, so they at least get credit for the one that they did get correct. And then of course you can do your time and allow how much time they have to answer that. Okay, I'm going to make this worth 10 points. Again, I can tie it to a learning standard if I want. I'm just going to go ahead and hit create question. Timed questions must have, so I checked this time. I didn't put a time in, so therefore it wouldn't let me save. So at least it's really good about letting you know that. And this should be 10. The next question type we're going to do is ordering. And ordering can be really fun. It's a drag and drop question type. Here in this rich text editor box again, we have all of the tools that we showed you on creating a page. So you can do that here. I can say place the decimals in the correct order. Okay. You want to make sure that when you're doing this, that you're putting in the correct answers, okay? So for ordering, the way that they arrange it is how you want to put it in. Okay, so I'm going to do 0.01, 0.001, 0.0001, 0.0001. Okay. I can say allow partial credit again. Here, a minimum continuous sequence, they have to have at least 2 of the 4 in the right order, or I could, well, 3 out of the 4 wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, but if you had maybe 5 items up here, because you can add or remove again, then you might do 3 or 5 out of the 5. Time question, and how many points do you want this worth? And then again, the option to align it to learning objectives. So I'm going to hit create question. Okay, so when they answer that, they have to drag those pieces. It's going to randomize it for them. They have to drag them in the right order. We're going to do add another question, and this time we're going to do short answer. So the short answer question type is unique because it's the only question type that doesn't auto-grade itself. So tester quizzes, because you're telling it which question is right, or which answer is right, I'm sorry, will auto-grade itself. But this one, because it requires the teacher to read it and analyze it, the teacher must manually grade this question, and then the rest of the test will get auto-graded and placed in the gradebook for you. So here you can ask your question. Maybe they have to write an essay. You can give it a character limit, allow rich text answers for students. So allow rich text answers for students allows them to have this box in their response. Okay, so that's really nice to have a really good submission, be able to, for them to insert imagery, videos. That's nice. The other option you have with this create essay question is you can do an audio video recording for your students so they can watch you or listen to you and then respond appropriately. Character limit, you decide the amount of characters that they can use in their response. Allow video or audio answers. So just like you can record an audio video question, they can respond to you with an audio video answer. This is really helpful for band. So you can ask them to play a certain piece of music, and then they have to record themselves doing that. So allows you to see, are they reaching those skills, or do they have those skill sets that they need to have? So you can mark that if you need it. Timed question. You have that answer, or you have that ability. And then short answer, it says here, this will determine the space allocated for a student's answer when printing the test. So if you wanted to print it, you can. You can set the space allocated for both types in the settings tab or essay questions, okay? So essay is just going to be a little bit longer of a space than the short answer. And then how many points? So I'm going to make this 10. With this question type, you can assign it to a rubric. So I'm going to show you how to do rubrics in a little bit. That is part 2, actually, is to do rubrics and mastery. So we'll talk a little bit more, but if you have a rubric created, you can either create new or choose from one that you already have. And I know some departments specifically use department rubrics, so you'd be able to choose from that one. And then align it to a learning objective. So I'm just going to say, please send a video of, respond with a video of you playing the piano. Again, that one will not auto-grade itself. Okay, the next one is fill in the blank. So fill in the blank, this is unique because you are actually going to tell the system where the blanks are and how many blanks there should be. So I'm going to say a dog goes, and then I'm going to put an underscore. Because I put an underscore in, that lets Schoology know that that is a blank answer. Okay, so for this first underscore, I'm going to say a dog goes woof. Okay. I could add additional answers if there was other acceptable answers. So if I wanted to, I could do that. Okay. I can allow partial credit if I want. If I say period, a cat goes underscore, it now sees a second underscore. So now it's going to give me blank 2. Answer goes meow. Okay. Again, allow partial credit. I could choose to create a word bank, so I could put filler words in here, and then I would have to display the correct one. So each response is separated. It tells you by a line. So I'm going to say cat, dog, bird, and owl. I know an owl's bird, but case sensitive. If they have to get the punctuation correct, then you would want to make, or I'm sorry, not the punctuation, but if it needed to be uppercase or lowercase, and that was important to their answer, then you might mark that. And then time question. Again, you have that ability. Okay, and I'm going to make this worth 10. And then again, here we have the option for align learning objective. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create. All right, the last question type that we have here is matching. So matching, I've got, again, this rich text editor box. It does give me the ability to do the audio video recording again here. And the questions and the answers have the ability to do that rich text editor option as well. So here, I can click on it. I get that box. I can really make my question types and the answers, again, really engaging based on what I choose. So I could here insert an image, insert a video, whatever I want, or just words. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, and I can say this one. I'm going to save changes, and the answer, I'm going to say Google assignments. Okay, the next one, I'm going to insert again, and I'm going to pick this logo this time. This is for West Aurora office professionals. Okay, I can remove blanks if I want. So they have to match these, and I can do as many of those matchings as I want. So here in my text box, I'm going to say, please match the logos to their meaning. Again, allow partial credit, subjective question. I can choose that. Time question, how many points do I want it out of? Tie it to a learning objective, and create question. Some of the other options I have are to import from question banks. So if you have a test type out there, you can do individual questions. You can do that. I'm sorry, the question banks, you actually create these under resources. The import test quiz, some of your materials, some of your textbooks will have the ability to export questions, and so you can import those. When you do import, just make sure that you're doing the Blackboard 7.1-9.0 option and not the Edmastery. And then if you wanted a page break, so you wanted them to do these 3 questions, page break, answer the next 3 questions. When you're adding your questions in, you can insert that page break where you want. And then you can do add text also. So that'll give them like some directions in between. And those can be audio, text, and then you can align that to a learning objective as well. Okay, so we've got our question types. The next thing we're going to do is look at our settings. So our settings, we can give instructions here. Again, that rich text editor box, so we can make this very visual to them. You've got the ability to do that, add a file or add a link, video recording, or add something from your resources. Submissions, if they're disabled, means nobody can submit. Enabled means they can submit. Enabled until, they can do it from a certain time frame, or from until is from a beginning date to an end date, so it'll only be open within that window. You don't have to remember to come in and enable or disable. Time limit, this is an overall test time limit. So you saw before that certain question types would allow you to time those questions, but this is actually going to allow you to time the entire test. Okay, so if I choose yes, they have 20 minutes to do the test, okay, and it's going to time them out. You can do multiple attempt limits. I suggest this sometimes just because it's technology, things happen. So sometimes at least give them maybe 2 times. And then you decide either the last score, average score, or highest score, what you want them to receive. But I just think to be on the safe side, sometimes it's easier to just increase that attempt limit. They're not necessarily going to use it. It's up to you. If you absolutely don't want them to have it, of course, you can choose just 1 time. Randomizing the order is going to randomize the questions on the test. So you saw that some of the question types allow you to randomize the available answers, but this will also randomize the order that the questions appear for the students. You can do page breaks, so 1 question per page, or using the page breaks that you inserted. Language keyboard, so you can choose the Spanish one. It allows them to do special characters and stuff. And then question review, can they review it to make sure that what they're answering is what they want before they submit it? Is it resumable? I absolutely suggest making it resumable. Why? Because computers die, because power goes out, because fire drills happen. So if they stop it, they can at least come back to it and start where they picked off. And then view submissions, you can choose yes or yes with correct answers, or no. Yes with correct answers is going to show them what they missed and what they should have selected. So if you wanted to use it as a learning opportunity, because maybe this is a unit test, but it's not their final, and so you want them to learn from it, so when it comes down to the final, they know how to correct their mistakes. You have that ability. And then printing, so if you were going to print this for your short answer questions, how many lines do they get to answer? And then essay question, again, how much space do they have? Once you have that, you can hit Save Changes. Okay. And I said enable from a certain time, and I didn't put the time. I'm just going to say disable. Okay. So at least it's really good if you don't select something that you should, it will let you know. You can preview the test. So if you want to see what it's going to look like for students, they get this Start New Attempt button. And now I can see the question. So I can be like, oh, Tony Romo. I can say, oh, meow goes here, and woof. I didn't really get that right. So it's up to you. They can also write here. So if they don't want to select from the word bank that you gave them, they could just type. This is drag and drop. Okay, so they can drag these in whatever order. So you can just make sure and look at how that functions. This is matching. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to say this is B. Click here and say this is A. So you can see how the students take it. This was, they had to submit something, a video. So you can see what that looks like. Is the sky blue? We said false. The correct answer was red in this one. They can do the review answers. Okay. And I didn't really submit because I'm the teacher, so I can't really do that. But a student would be able to then to see that. Once it is taken, you'll be able to see the results and their attempts. So you can hit view attempts here. You'll see submission 1, submission 2, depending on how many you've allowed. And then you'll be able to see how they scored. You can override their score. So if you want to give them credit for something they came to you and pleaded their case, you can always override that here. Okay. And then any comments that, if you had comments enabled that were posted, you would be able to see here. Here's where you're going to see your view stats. So we enabled grading statistics. I'd be able to see them here, the view grade info, and then here I can edit it, unpublish it, copy it to another course. I can export the statistics if I want, print the test, delete it, or save it to my resources so that I can pull it down maybe next year into another course. That is tests and quizzes.